I just wanted to get the gang together early in my tenure and say, yo. So it's been a while that I haven't done this in a while. We moved in here about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years, and soon after we moved, I did record one of these, but I never released it. Don't remember why. Hesitation, doubt, stupid things. And a few weeks ago, I tried to record another one. Tried because I was struggling with the batteries. The batteries on my camera were dying too quickly. I wasn't normally I would plug the camera in, but the cable wasn't working. And then I tried again recently and it does work. So long story short, I did not record I filmed the whole thing and then I learned afterwards that it wasn't recording. And now I'm doing it again, trying again. I've been missing this, so it's good to be back. And lots of hesitation. I kept asking myself why, what's the point? The So I had to go back to the origin of this idea, which was simply to practice talking. That's the only goal, really. Whatever I say is quite obsolete as long as I practice an uncomfortable duration of time of speaking without intervals. So here we are. Topics. I have a few topics. Clearly, a lot has changed since the last episode. It's weird to say episodes as if I'm a TV show on a network and everything, but anyways. A lot has changed. So moved in with my partner, who's now my fiance. I know it's on the wrong finger, but it doesn't fit on the correct finger. It's a really nice ring. I like it. And we have a kid. We have a 2.5 month boy, which is amazing. But I had a sort of a plan. So the idea moving forward is I will keep recording these the way I used to weekly. Practice just talking, quite little structure. And the plan is to then suffer through the whole episode again, watch it, and extract the main talking points, so to speak, and then make a fully fledged, more polished video out of that. So make multiple videos on different topics, but more organized with editing, with all sorts of stuff, so that I can practice. Well, it's good to practice talking, but I also wanted to practice videography, and YouTube is really quite an amazing thing. I don't know why I said quite. It sounds kind of posh, but it's an amazing thing. The idea that you can just make a video and post it, and people might see it is that's one side of it. But just the idea of being able to release whatever you think, whatever you create into the world, is a blessing. So I was gonna say being a normal person, but I do consume probably more YouTube than most people, more than I should, and I like a lot of stuff on there, and I would like to be someone who makes stuff that people also can enjoy. Also, I'm very, what's the word? Not confrontational, but I see a lot of stuff that I disagree with, and so why not respond and have my own channel with my views as opposed to just think about it silently. In terms of structure, we're going to start with back pain. This year, about a week before our winter break ended, I hurt my back at the gym. I was doing good mornings with more weight than I should have been. And it's like my lower back just switched off and I just fell. I crumbled like a box. No, that's not at all what I was trying to say. Like, those people probably on Instagram or YouTube who balance a bunch of objects on top of each other. What am I trying to say? I crumbled to the floor as if I didn't have a spine, and the weight fell on top of me, and I felt really stupid. And it's actually that's not even true. No, no, no. What? I don't remember the timeline. I hurt my back first, just getting out of bed, just normally getting out of bed, nothing special. Hurt my back. A week later, it was fine. Went to the gym, hurt my back again. A week later, back at work. Someone asked me to pick up a box on the floor. I went to pick it up. It was heavier than I expected, but instead of adjusting my position, I just picked it up and hurt my back again. So it's been a real trend this year, hurting my back, which is really annoying because it's one of those things. The lower back connects your upper body and your lower body. And when that's compromised and weak, it's hard to do anything. I don't know if the position of the mic is good. So I've been going back to the gym tentatively every time after I hurt my back. And it's hard to make progress when you keep hurting yourself and having to start from zero. So I am currently going to the gym regularly and taking it easy, which is annoying. How many times did I say annoying? But that being said, a friend of mine wrote this book and has given it to me. So I'm going through it again. I suppose I didn't want to believe the idea that chronic pain is more of a mental thing than a physical thing, and I was trying to fix it through exercise, stretching, etc., which I still believe are valuable. But I came to believe that this chronic back pain was related to this thing here, the video recording, the podcast. I stopped making it, and it feels like the back pain exacerbated. And I didn't mention that I recorded an episode a week or two ago, and I wasn't very happy with it, so I'm doing it again. And I did come to the realization that, or I remembered that I convinced myself that the reason this chronic pain existed, which the logic is that it's linked to an unresolved issue you have. And I have many, like most people, but I came to believe that not making this was the reason I was going through that chronic pain. So I'm essentially healing my chronic pain right now, which is incredible if I can do it just like that. So yes, so far, well, obviously it's a friend of mine, so I wouldn't say anything bad. But that being said, he's a really smart guy, lots of knowledge, and I think this is a real good book. It's short as well. I need to get back into reading, but this is a good first step because it's quite short. So I plan on making a video on that topic, as I mentioned earlier. Next, becoming a father. I have become a father. Isn't that crazy? I've heard many times in many different places, when you have kids, you regret not having kids earlier. And I think it's true. You're never ready. It's one of those things. Action comes before motivation, right? That's a good quote. And the point is, if you keep waiting until you're ready, you might never do it. And I see a lot of people around me who are waiting. They are waiting for the right moment, for this, for that. And all these people are in better financial situations than my partner and I. And initially, when we learned that we were pregnant, it's a weird thing to say, but when we learned that there was a baby on the way, our first reaction was, it's quite ugly to say, but our first reaction was, we're not ready. So it's a no, hard pass. And people around us talk to us as we reveal that information. And everyone disagreed with our point of view. I remember my grandpa saying, if he had thought that way, or if my dad had thought that way, or my parents had thought that way, no one would be born. I wouldn't be born, my dad wouldn't be born. It's not an excuse. It's not a good excuse. And obviously, there's people in way worse situations than us. That being said, there's people in way worse situations than us who do have kids. So this idea of you're not ready or you're not in a good situation is a lot of the time is false. Sometimes you do get people who have kids who shouldn't. We all know that. But if you're not some kind of psycho or an absolute idiot or in a horrible, horrible situation, I feel like that statement rings true. You should have done it earlier. Because a lot of people will also say, "Oh, you sure you're ready? It's scary. It's this or that. It's expensive. Blah blah blah." And that's not true. It's very simple. It's very simple. It's a human, tiny, very small human. Obviously, it's going to get harder with time, but we will adapt. But it's just a little human who sleeps a lot and shits a lot, and wants to eat a lot, and that's about it. We're also lucky in the fact that he's good. He's a good kid. He doesn't cry a lot. He really rarely cries, unless he wants to feed, and we haven't started that process yet. So we are lucky in that sense. But a lot of people come to me and say, "Oh, it must be hard. Blah, blah, you're not sleeping." I mean, yeah, less sleep, but once again, the upside, so to speak, is much higher, much greater. So yeah, very grateful that we have a son. It still feels weird to say that I have a son and I'm a father, but yeah, good stuff. Highly recommend. Um, Next topic, AI. So that's one of the videos I wanted to make a while ago and I didn't. So I'm kind of late now to the party, but I guess it was a few months ago. It was announced that Darren Aronofsky was making an AI short series for YouTube, I believe. And so I immediately went online to look up. There was a trailer already, and Darren Aronofsky is one of a few filmmakers who, although not recently really, but if you look at his career, he has made very ballsy films, very unusual. He has pushed the boundaries even of technology with the snorri cam in Requiem for a Dream. That's one of the, well, actually in Pi. Was that, I don't think that was the first use of it. Maybe it was, but Pi, this weird black and white film. So he's quite, I consider him an important filmmaker in that sense, that he's not just a guy who makes films. He makes films where there's he's pushing the medium forward. So when I learned that he was making this show called 1776, I was interested. That being said, the last film I watched of his, which I think is the last film he released, was Caught Stealing, and that was not very good, not very inspired, interesting. There was not much to it. It was better than your average movie that comes out every week, but it wasn't anything special. So I was intrigued, and I typed 1776 online. I don't know much about American history, so I didn't know the significance of that date. And the first trailer popped up. I clicked on it, and 2 or 3 seconds into it, I was like, "Oh, okay. I can just give up on this idea of wanting to become a filmmaker. It's over." So I kept watching, and on one hand, I was thinking, "Wow, this is incredible." On the other hand, I was thinking, "Oh." I was trying to poke holes in it, saying, "Oh, it's a bit weird here, and this is a bit strange." And once the trailer ended, I thought, "There's no way that's the actual trailer." So I went back to the search page and found there was another trailer for 1776, which was the actual trailer. And it looked horrible. It looked like trash, uninteresting, uninspired, soulless. It didn't look good, which was, on one hand, kind of reassuring that AI didn't make this enormous leap out of nowhere. Well, that's it, really. Just the one hand. It turns out the first trailer I watched was for a real film that came out in the 60s, I think. I'm not sure. And it does have this strange quality of, we're used to modern trailers, which are optimized. You know, they're decades and decades of optimizing trailers. And they are their own little piece of art, or short film thingy that can be very enjoyable in itself. But this trailer was very awkward in the way it was presented. And also the way actors of the time performed. It was more theatrical. So that's the reason. Those are the flaws I found that made me think that the way the trailer was cut was a bit awkward. But it's just because of the time it was made in. So it was a real trailer for a real film, and I remember the logo at the start came in. I thought, I've never seen this logo before. So surely AI produced that whole thing, and it felt so real and tangible and human that really threw me off. So that was cool. You know, AI still sucks, I thought. And I'm pretty sure a week later, Sora 2 was released, and there was this video of Brad Pitt fighting Tom Cruise. And boom, back back to that headspace of, okay, AI is coming for us and we're fucked essentially, because that was really, really good. Really impressive. Especially when you compare it to the 1776 short series, which I think use real voice actors, but everything visual is AI generated. And I think the main takeaway on AI, from my perspective, is it's not, well, Maybe it will end the world. Hopefully not anytime soon. But if you look at history, every day there's a reason why the world is going to end. Nuclear power has been created, the world's going to end. The internet, social media, global warming, blah, blah, blah. The world's going to end. Okay, it is going to end, and we'll keep searching for signs and for things that are it. In 2012, the world was going to end. I was a kid and very impressionable, and I thought, this looks kind of real. So is the world going to end? Sure, at some point, but being so, what's the word? There's a good word for it. Being so, not catastrophic. Anyways, hopping on that train with so much energy doesn't make sense, I think. AI has a lot of upsides. I watched this video by a guy called River Cody. Very simple video where he shows his workflow, and he's taking a phone call in front of his house and he wants a tree to fall on the house. Boom, AI done. It looks real. It costs hardly anything. And you think to yourself, the main thing that AI is bringing is democratization, if I'm pronouncing this right. Is the idea that this is my studio, my space. It's just my bedroom, but in here I can make something that looks very impressive for very little money. So anyone has access to this immense power, and the way to harness that power is if you're able to, I think at the moment at least, to combine it with real stuff, not fully AI generated, which still looks like crap and feels like crap. But a tree falling on a house, it looks as real as anything, and there's nothing feels untrue about it if you use it as a tool instead of a replacement for human creativity. So I like AI. Also, I've tried many times to, for example, I'm working on a screenplay that I have been working on a screenplay for ages, and try to use AI to help me in terms of rewriting what I've written, like an outline, trying to, how do I say this? Yeah, creating an outline. Here's my idea. Tell me what's good, what's not, things like that. And it's not kind of fully reliable. It's not nothing is really. If you give it to a professional script doctor, they're not perfect. People are gonna make mistakes. But it has an ability to kind of summarize things, which is really good. But when it comes to asking an AI to write you a page of a script or anything like that, it's completely useless. It doesn't it has at the moment at least has a clear limit on what it can do creatively. If you want a logo, for example, my mother asked me to make a logo for a project she's working on. But before that, she showed me the logo she had AI generated, and it was just a text with colors. It followed the script that she gave the AI, but there was nothing interesting or memorable about it, which is what a logo is supposed to be. It was it felt like, you just found it on Pinterest. It was very uninspired. And I worked on the logo. I'm really proud of what I got. Really happy with it. And then I kind of fed the logo into ChatGPT, asking for feedback or anything to improve. And ChatGPT could not comprehend the logo because you have fucking allergies, seasonal allergies. Because the logo is you have the concept for the brand, and the logo has to encapsulate one, the concept for the brand, two, it has to be striking. I don't know how to say it, but there's a whole kind of story that goes into why the logo is what it is. I don't want to get into specifics because I'm not sure where that project is at currently. I have to check with my mother. But there's all these layers of interpretation that go into it, and the AI is not able to do anything remotely similar to that at the moment. That being said, I also heard that recently how you think to yourself, the smartest people on earth are or some of the smartest people on earth would be like coders and engineers. Coders, is that a term? People who make code, and engineers, and people who are good at mathematical thinking and that sort of stuff. You see, I'm not one of them people, so I don't know what they do. And AI, that's the first thing that AI is able to replace. So I'm building an app. That's crazy. I've kind of gotten used to it, to saying I'm building an app, but that's crazy. Like 5 years ago, I would never have thought that I would be building an app, me, my laptop, and an AI, and it's promising. It's doing what it's a lot of work. It's not one of those things where you input an idea and then it produces a fully fledged app. It's it, my God, it's a very slow process of refining things, changing things. I'm the human in the equation, so I'm the one to say this works. The kind of the user using the app from the perspective of a person. This can be simplified. This can be removed. Blah blah blah. And it's taken ages. When you start doing it and you enter the whole list of descriptions of what the app is and what it does, it produces what feels like a fully fledged finished app. And then slowly but surely you start refining things, changing things, removing things, and you realize there's so much work that goes into it. But it's very enjoyable. Not least of all because the idea that I'm making an app is crazy. That anyone can build an app is crazy. It's my first time. Well, actually, I tried before and gave up because it was very frustrating and slow. But I've never made an app, and I don't know anyone who has personally. So it's very exciting that you can just have an idea and build an app out of it. Crazy. Um, then about a year ago, 13 months ago, we went to Benin. I don't know if that's a really good segue. It isn't. We went to Benin in West Africa, which is the country where my grandpa is from. And it was our first time outside of Europe. Yeah, first time outside of Europe in the continent of Africa. And I mean, let's start at the beginning. Flying is crazy. I've flown, is that how you? I've flown, my first time flying was from Paris to London, the first time when we arrived in the UK. uh, 15 years ago or something. Then the next time was about 2 summers ago, going to Corsica from France, but that was like a half-hour flight, half hour, half hour to an hour. That was amazing. I mean, flying is great. I can't believe that there's people who just fly regularly as the same way I take the tube regularly. But this time it was a 15-hour flight, and that's just insane. I mean, that beats all the meditation in the world. The idea that you're just floating above the earth for 10 hours straight. Well, it wasn't 10 hours straight. Like, I think the longest part of it was 8 hours. You're just fucking in the clouds. It's like a drug. Just looking out the window at the clouds and the world beneath you is incredible. A lot better than building an app, in my opinion. Don't say in my opinion. It's a terrible phrase. So flying was cool. And then there was a layover in Turkey. And on the way there, so we took a taxi to the airport in Paris. And on the way there, we were talking about our journey with the driver. And he mentioned that Istanbul, where we had the layover, is we knew it, but he mentioned it's such a beautiful country. You know, you should go back there specifically and spend some time to visit. And I thought to myself, man, would it be cool if we could stay a bit longer in Turkey on the way back? Because I think the layover was like a couple hours, a few hours. Wouldn't it be cool to just be able to get this like bonus and visit Turkey, visit Istanbul? And it turns out on the way back there was an issue. The plane was late. It was delayed, and so we were stuck in Istanbul for like a day total, like one midday to the next midday. So we had a whole night. So we went into Istanbul, visited. The main reason I wanted to visit Istanbul is because of Alex Webb. He took some amazing pictures around the world, but the ones in Turkey specifically are really special, really beautiful. And Istanbul does have that quality that the way the light falls on the streets, it makes sense. It's really beautiful. I don't really like photographing London, for example. Paris a bit more, but Istanbul was amazing, and we got to visit some of the huge mosques, which are definitely a good argument for the value of religion. As time goes on, the anti-religion rhetoric grows stronger every day. If you compare it to 100 years ago, right, 50 years ago. But damn, has very few things as beautiful and as awe-inspiring as these mosques have ever been created. It's insane. The scale of it, the detail, the idea that people just built this. was, yeah, was pretty awe-inspiring, beautiful. We just laid on the floor of one of the big ones. Was it the Blue Mosque? I'm not sure. Laid on the floor looking up and could just stay there for hours, take it in. So yeah, Istanbul. But the main thing was Benin. We stayed there for 2 weeks. And as the plane lands and they open the airplane door, I guess, and you start going down the stairs. And as I was walking towards that door, I could feel the humid heat just like envelop me. It was like squeezing me, putting pressure on me. It was so strong. It was so hot. I had never experienced anything like that. And it was the middle of the night. And sure enough, that heat never left for those 2 weeks. We had a spinning fan on the ceiling in our bedroom, and it was on all the time, which was costly, but it had to be because if I walked to the toilets away from the fan, I just started sweating immediately. That heat was crazy, and it was rain season, I think. So the sun wasn't really out. There was always a bit of a cover of clouds, so we didn't get that real sun. But that first impression was really, really powerful. And apart from that, I mean, there's so much to say about. I mean, moving from Paris to London was a bit of a shock, not speaking the language, etc. But there's still a similarity. But Benin, whew, it's like another planet, and it's interesting how everything is, well, when you say everything is different, it's not completely true, but everything does feel different at times in terms of the smells, the lights, the temperature, the architecture, how you get around. It's a whole different experience. And it does, I mean, it just made me, I've always said I wanted to travel every country or everywhere around the world because I understood how valuable that is. But it's just like having a kid. You don't know how valuable it is until you truly experience stepping in a different culture, a completely different culture and world. And it was very peaceful. The things are slower there, sometimes a bit too slow, but the pace of living is different. It felt like a true holiday, which it had been a while that I hadn't felt that. Felt cut off from the world. There was a lizard that kept knocking on our window all day and night. You just get used to those things. We got in French we say baptême par le feu. This kind of, well, we had the shits. I had the shits for close to a whole week. That was also unique. It was just coming out front end, back end continuously. I couldn't sleep. I would just wake up in the middle of the night and have to go to the toilets. It was so bad that I had to remove the toilet seats, as in the what does that have an actual name? That's a toilet seat, but what's underneath the toilet seat? That's another toilet seat. I had to remove the one used to poo, so I could really go inside, stick my bum inside the toilet, because otherwise it was so liquid that when I pooped, it was like a jet. That's so disgusting, but yeah, it was just a jet of poop that went everywhere. So I really had to point my bum straight into the water. Otherwise, I had to clean up everything as I was puking at the same time. It was, yeah, wow, that left an impression. That was intense. So yeah, I took some videos there. So the plan is to make a video on that as well. And also, I have to say, my aunt paid for everything. So very well. I don't know what the term is. It's beyond grateful that we got this opportunity, thanks to her. So once again, thank you, Gugu. There was another thing about Benin. And there's a lot to say. Okay, closing, final topic I want to make a video on, and that's one of the main drivers for why I'm making this video now, is when the film One Battle After Another came out. I immediately felt like, okay, this is the one where I start making video essays on movies, because I've consumed countless video essays. I love a good video essay on movies. I'm lazy. I don't like reading. And well, and movies are a visual medium anyway, so it makes sense to consume video essays, I think. And I thought this is the one where I'm gonna give it a go. You know, for once, not make one of those videos where there's not much structure to it, but find clips, analyze, blah blah blah, make a nice polished video that's enjoyable to watch. And I started working on the script. I had the ideas, etc., and I never did it. I kept postponing it, but not anymore. I got a big A. I'm stuttering, but not anymore. I'm gonna make that video. And as the video was kind of building in my head the topics to talk about, I was watching all the existing reviews and videos on that. And I gotta say, it was very, very frustrating and upsetting. That's probably where I got my chronic back pain, really, consuming all this bullshit. Because it feels like I was looking, it's weird. I'm looking for a video that will say the things I want to say. That's an issue with with the internet in general, is you can find something that agrees with you, and then the internet will direct you to many more sources of things that agree with you, and then you can just be stuck in your little bubble. There's a term for it as well. There's a good term for it. What's it called? Bouncing box thing, whatever. I don't know. Right, but that's one of the negatives of internet, and I don't think I'm unique in acknowledging that I go on the internet hoping to find, a video on the UFC agreeing with me that this guy is going to win or this guy should have won or blah, 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 just stuff agreeing with you. But I never found a video on one bachelor after another that said the things that I thought should have been said about the film. And the more I watch videos, I kind of went down into a specific rabbit hole, which the loudest kind of topic that emerged from one bachelor after another is Tiana Taylor's character, Perfidia Beverly Hills, and this endless, ubiquitous topic that is race, specifically in America. And so many voices, so many people saying stuff that's, to me, that's not good. Let's make it simple. That's not good. You have the voices on one side saying that the film is racist for how she was portrayed because she wasn't portrayed as righteous. That's a hard word to pronounce for me. Righteous, because of her flaws. Representing black women in a bad light, or even specifically black revolutionary women in a bad light. People arguing that the stupidest thing. Oh, the name is stupid. Yes, it is. I mean, there's a guy called Donald Trump who called COVID the China flu. Was it? No, he said the China flu and the. God, my brain is just empty. Was that it? No, the Kung flu. There's an actual video. When I make the video on one bachelor after another, I'm going to put up that clip. There's a guy called Donald Trump, who has the hair that we all know, who called COVID-19 the Kung flu. That happened in our timeline, in our reality, not in a movie. It's real life. This character exists, and he's the president of the United States. And you're going to tell me that Perfidia Beverly Hills is an issue for you? Fuck off. So yes, this whole topic has me fired up. I have a lot to say, so I'm making a video on that topic. But before making a video on one bachelor after another, I need to make a video specifically on Perfidia Beverly Hills and how her character was received. And you have people like Critical Drinker, who's entertaining when it comes to bashing low quality media and bad films. I'm pretty sure I watched every video on The Acolyte, the series. I haven't watched a second of the actual series, but I watched every video he made on it because he's really good at bashing terrible media. Now, when it comes to good stuff, he's completely useless. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He produced one short film, which was supposed to be like a pilot for a series. Don't remember what it's called. It's absolute crap. It's bad. And, it makes it make sense why someone like, what's it called? Chris Stuckerman, the reviewer guy, stopped making any negative reviews, because you look at the work these guys are able to produce and it's quite mediocre. And I haven't seen Shelby Oaks. People are saying it's not great, but you can't bash Chris Stuckman because he's only saying he's not saying anything negative about anyone. But yeah, the Critical Drinkers review of one bachelor after another is just a mirror. It just shows how he's out of his lane when it comes to something like that. Ben Shapiro made a video as well. Either he doesn't understand. Well, most likely he doesn't understand art. My God, most likely he does not understand art at all as a whole, which is nothing special. Most people don't. But he has such a big voice that it's a shame. Then there's people taking more of the I talk about two white reviewers. Now there's also black people talking about it, and how someone literally said, a lady in a video said, "Is he the right person to tell that story?" And the comment is so. If I was editing this video, I would pull up the meme from that film where it's like a game show, and the presenter, I think, says, "This is the single stupidest thing I have ever heard," and something like that. This is where I pull up that meme. Because what do you mean, is he the right person to tell a story? So it's based on a book by Thomas Pynchon, which came out, I think, in the 90s, and it's about the 80s. And initially the characters were white, and then you have this guy called Thomas. Oh my god, it's first time back. Have some pity. Paul Thomas Anderson, who's in my stop saying in my opinion, who's the best living filmmaker. Filmmaker as in writer director together. He writes these amazing scripts and then he directs them amazingly. And he's incredibly intelligent, cultured, passionate about filmmaking. Every movie, every second of every movie, you can sense that. He's way beyond any other filmmaker alive. Well, not any, but most. He's at the top. And especially when it comes to American filmmakers, he's way above most of them. And if you look at his history, right, he's a white guy. He married Maya Rudolph, who's the daughter of Minnie Riperton, and they've had kids together, mixed race kids. So you have a white guy who's married to, I think she's also mixed race. I think so. And has mixed race children with her, who's telling a story about a white guy who has mixed race kids. So who is supposed to tell that story? First of all, how are you going to find an artist as skilled and mature? You know, he made There Will Be Blood in 2007 when he was, I think, in his late 30s. I mean, the guy, he's an absolute genius. Who are you going to find that's more well equipped? Obviously, they're hinting at it should have been a black person telling that story, but people don't understand the film. The film is not about black or white or anything, but it's about this dad, this white dad, who's completely out of his depth, who's invited this culture, who has integrated himself in this culture, right? Those revolutionaries, and then invited it into his life, and he doesn't know how to cope, and certain things he just doesn't understand. Also, one excuse I had for why I haven't made the review yet is I wanted to get my mother's opinion. You know, her being a mixed race woman who's also very, who has strong opinions about race, etc. I don't really know. I don't know how to describe her, but I knew she would have a strong opinion on the film, and I knew that if she said, watching this film, if she said, "Oh, I feel like the way they're representing black women, blah blah blah, I feel like this movie is some kind of an attack," then I would have rethought my position, because everything I believe and know, is stems from her forcing us to educate ourselves. So that's a voice I put a lot of value on. So I haven't talked to her about it yet, but when we were watching the movie, the biggest reaction I remember her having was when DiCaprio's character is in the car with Sensei, and tells Sensei that towards the end of the film that he never knew how to deal with his daughter's hair. He never knew how to do it right. So he was waiting for mum to come back because he didn't know how to deal with it. And that was always going to be a point I wanted to touch on, the beauty of that scene, the importance of it, because I remember my mum, when I was a kid, telling me that her mum didn't know how to deal with her hair because her mother is white. And so that's a character moment, and a moment that only someone who's well, you can do research and learn stuff, obviously, but it feels so true. That's when you see that, you think to yourself, surely Paul Thomas Anderson himself went through a moment where he was, trying to take care of his daughter's hair, and he was like, wow, this is very different from my hair, from my mother's hair, from anything I've ever experienced. And so you get those moments that highlights the kind of the differences between people. I feel like that's truly the core of that film, is the idea that we live in a world that's moving towards kind of merging cultures more and more, but those differences still exist, and whatever DiCaprio's character does, he'll never be able to completely bridge that gap of culture between him and his daughter. I think that's an interesting point. But so yeah, the biggest reaction I remember from my mother, besides the laughing, the moments where she laughed, it was that scene, and I was just looking at her, thinking, how's she gonna react? And you could tell that she thought, wow, that's such a true line. And also, if you look at Paul Thomas Anderson's filmography, there hasn't been many black people in his films. He picks a topic that's he only picks topics that are close to him, that he understands, and he feels like he has some kind of authority. I'm not trying to say something that sounds bad. I'm just saying he zones in on the topic. He does research. A lot of his films are set in the same area in the US. Oh, my camera died. Wait, how did my camera die? It's plugged in. No, it didn't die. It stopped recording. Well, that's when we switched to this guy up here. As I was saying, yeah. Anyways, I'm pretty much done. It's very personal. His topics are very personal, and so people who are trying to argue that he decided to make a film that centers on race to a degree as some kind of Oscar bait move is ridiculous. Clearly he's following the same trend he has for every movie of his. He found the story by Thomas Pynchon, and then he changed it according to how he experienced his life. If the movie is about a father, he's a father. It just so happens that he has mixed race children, so that comes into play for the story. And if he had decided to make them white, to make everyone white like in the original, or the main characters at least, that would have been untrue and inaccurate in terms of his own experience. Anyways, I'll make a video on the topic. I'm done. Still recording there. Yes. See ya.